Okay, everyone, welcome back to DSP versus the Internet, episode 73. Obviously, sadly, the last part got shut down prematurely for us watching a clip. Stephen Fry, we all know that Stephen Fry just completely ends everything. Every time he speaks, all life as we know it just comes to a grinding halt. So, we couldn't finish that clip. But anyway, all right, what we're going to do now is we're going to answer a question from a super member. If you become a super member of the channel, you have the ability to ask me some Q&A questions every week. But not many people take advantage of this. Last year, a lot of people did. This year, almost no one really has. But we do have one this week. And that question is as follows. Would you ever be interested in interviewing or collabing with Connecticut or East Coast content creators like Persona voice actor Cassandra Lee Morris or Kingdom Hearts speedrunner Kevin Biscuit 047 Gallo? Besides you and Justin Wong, are you aware of any other Connecticut or East Coast Street Fighter people making it big as creators or FGC people? Who are some you remember? First off, I don't even understand the first part of the question. Like, why would I want to specifically collaborate with someone from the East Coast? Like, I understand I lived there since I was born until 2014. So that was a pretty lengthy portion of my life, 32 years. But number one, I've lived on the West Coast now for over a decade. Okay. Number two, I don't have any long-standing remaining relationships with people from the East Coast. So you seemingly naming random people like a Persona voice actor or a Kingdom Hearts speedrunner, like, the question would be, number one, why would I want to collab with them to begin with? And number two, why would I specifically want to collaborate with them because they're on the East Coast? I'm really confused. That really blows my mind what you're saying. I don't get it. I don't get the question. Okay? So I guess the answer is no. I don't really care to collaborate with them because I don't see what the point would be. How on earth would our collab benefit either of us? I don't think it would. Okay? Now, your second half of your question. Besides myself and Justin Wong, am I aware of any other Connecticut or East Coast Street Fighter people making it big as creators or FGC peeps? I mean, there's people from the Marvel 2 era, like Yipes, who is a big commentator, right? He commentates on all the big Street Fighter events. So there you go. Good for him for making it into something like that. Marvel 2 is never going to remain competitive forever, but it's cool that he slid into something that he's good at. He's got a great personality and a professional mannerism when it comes to presenting fighting game footage, and it's great for him that he did that, right? Outside of that, I mean, all the people who were top players in my day, none of them really play anymore. I couldn't even tell you anyone from that era who I know of who's notable in the fighting game community or notable making content on YouTube. No. Like, if you're talking 90s, 2000s era Street Fighter, there's people who are still around. For example, Alex Valle, I believe he either owns and operates or he works for and promotes an arcade. I know that, and that's cool because, I mean, that's his hobby his whole life, and now to have it as basically, part of his job is awesome. But yeah, I think people from my era, the thing was back then we did it for the love of Street Fighter, right? We really did. It was for the love of the game because as we were saying, when we were talking about HD Remix earlier on the show, the dark age of Street Fighter was 2001 to 2009. There were no new games coming out of Capcom fighting game wise. So it was just grassroots, people who loved the games and wanted to keep them alive. So we kept running tournaments, attending tournaments, putting money into that stuff because we loved it. But what ended up happening was when Street Fighter 4 came out, it exploded in popularity. It became way more mainstream than Street Fighter had ever done before. And that's when the money rolled in. That's when you had the sponsorships. That's when you had the monetized videos and streams. That's when you had esports teams starting to formulate and try to swipe up talent. That's when it became global. And that's when it became a business. And when that happened, the old guard of people basically said, meh, it ain't for the love of the game anymore. So we don't really care, And that's what happened. Like, everyone just kind of quit and faded into obscurity. The new fighting games of Street Fighter 4, 5, and 6 don't really play like the old school fighting games from back in the day that we grew up loving. So the people who were the old guard, like, meh, let the new guard come in, let them take over. And, like, you're right. Like, if you think of anyone from that time period who was prominent, no, I can't think of a single person who is actively, like, making a living making content on the internet. Right? Can you name any more? Some people have said Nerd Josh makes stuff, but is he full-time? I don't know. I've never seen his stuff. And Nerd Josh was a really cool guy back in the day, a superb Street Fighter player and a really nice guy. So I don't know if he makes a living as a streamer. But outside of that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know of a single one besides myself. I know Justin Wong is full-time on YouTube and streaming, and me too, obviously. And that's about it, right? I can't think of any others from that era. So, okay. All right. Well, there's your answer. And now we jump back into the submissions tier questions for the show. Thank you to everyone who is a submissions level member of the channel. Let's see what you guys wanted me to watch for this week. You're saying Chris G. Chris G was not an old school player. What are you talking about? We're talking about from my era, 90s and 2000s, right? Chris G wasn't around until Marvel 3. That's 2010, so that's way later. Okay. Let's continue. Look at this. They're trying to catch this guy and apparently keep missing him.
And you can see it right there, the suspect trying to get into somebody's property or still trying to hide, but doing a very, very poor job of it right there. LAPD coming to a stop. Oh, come on, guys, he's right there. The officer's running right by him.
Are you kidding?
They're going right by him. Angie, our pilot today, talking on O2, trying to tell the officers that this suspect is right there. And again, you just saw that. Oh my goodness, I just feel so bad for those officers making their way back now.
No, wait.
It's the blue car. There we go. Somebody's getting the information. Somebody's got to be getting the information. Keep coming around, Ange. Keep coming around. Keep coming around. That suspect, unbelievable.
He's
were
still
watching
there.
This live, and you have to understand that these officers, they don't know what the information that we know. But again, that LAPD helicopter just arriving. There you go. Some of those officers must be getting that information. There you go. There you go. And now that suspect going into custody. Wow. Wow. And
no, they're still missing him.
Haven't seen him yet. This is unbelievable.
Oh, finally. Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, my gosh.
Hello, friends.
They just kept missing him over and over. Finally, they got him. Oh, my God. Spawn Killer, thanks for 16 months as a member. He says, Nerd Josh is on Twitch playing Street Fighter. But the question is that his occupation? Because that was the question. Is anyone from my era of competitive Street Fighter actually making a living as a content creator? I am. Justin is. Is anyone else? I mean, if Nerd Josh streams, that's great, but is that just his hobby on the side and he has a career outside of that, right? That's the question. So, because I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of anyone from that era who does this for a living, you know? Okay, the 10 worst states to live in. All right, let's see about this video. I don't know, 2,000 views from 2 months ago. We'll watch some of this, but the next video is Texas Most Dangerous Places. All right, would you guys prefer to watch the 10 worst states to live in or Texas Most Dangerous Places? Because we're not going to watch both. They're too similar. Would you guys like to watch one or the other? Which one would you guys like to see? That's what people say here. Texas Most Dangerous, 10 worst. 10 worst. Hello? There's hundreds of people on my stream. 10 worst. Texas. 10 worst. I guess we have 6 people actually watching. 10 worst. Okay, 10 worst.
In this video, we are going to discover the top 10 worst states to live in the United States 2024. In the ever-evolving
I am not an AI voice in any way.
Landscape of American living, certain states fall short of being havens for residents. Whether it's due to inadequate healthcare, high crime rates, or limited inclusivity, these regions garner reputations as less than ideal places to call home. As CNBC delves into its yearly assessment of state business climates, it unveils a list that scrutinizes how welcoming states are to their residents, especially in the face of a nationwide worker shortage. We consider multiple quality of life factors, including crime rates, environmental quality, and healthcare. We also look at the quality and availability of childcare, which is one of the most important factors in getting.
Can we get to the countdown? Okay, here we go.
Now let's dig deeper into each of the top 10 worst states to live in the United States in 2024. Number 10. Florida.
Why Florida?
Life, Health and Inclusion Score, 129 out of 350 points, top states grade, D. Strengths: air quality, childcare, worker protections. Weaknesses: inclusiveness, reproductive rights. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis hopes to ride his war on woke to the White House, but it is not winning his state points for quality of life. Supporters of the state's Stop Woke Act, which DeSantis signed into law in 2022, say it protects employees from diversity, equity and inclusion (DEI) initiatives that DeSantis says are toxic. But many companies consider DEI an economic imperative, and courts have struck down parts of the law. The recent Supreme Court decision on affirmative
This has nothing to do with the state. Like, this video is terrible. It's not talking about crime. It's not talking about per capita income. It's not talking about anything important to living there. It's talking about DEI. This video is awful. It literally focused on the one thing that no one's going to give a fuck about if they're trying to move somewhere. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Let's watch the next part. Arkansas.
place. Number 9. Arkansas. Life, Health and Inclusion score, 118 out of 350 points, top states grade, D-. Strengths, childcare, air quality. Weaknesses, crime, inclusiveness, reproductive rights, healthcare. Few states have suffered as badly from the scourge of illegal drugs as Arkansas, which has one of the highest violent crime rates in the country, according to FBI statistics. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders blamed the crime problem on lax penalties, as well as prison overcrowding that is forcing the state's prison system to release some violent offenders before they complete their entire sentences. In April, she signed legislation to stiffen penalties, curtail early releases, and fund new prison space. But crime is just one of the natural state's problems. Another is healthcare, with, for example, just 42 dentists for every 100,000 residents, according to the United Health Foundation.
Oh.
Number 8. Tennessee.
At least that one made more sense. Crime and lack of availability of healthcare. That makes a lot more sense than, oh, the governor's anti-woke and doesn't like DEI. That was really stupid.
Tennessee. Life, Health and Inclusion score, 115 out of 350 points, top states grade, D-. Strengths, childcare, air quality. Weaknesses, inclusiveness, crime, voting rights. Tennessee has enthusiastically passed laws targeting LGBTQ+ rights, even if it has meant crossing the bounds of constitutionality, like a ban on drag shows where children are present, which a federal judge struck down in June.
So basically, this entire video is tackling political hotbed issues instead of statistical issues that people would actually really care about if they were moving somewhere. Okay, next video.
Out of nowhere, here comes some punk. He wants your wallet and your cell phone and your bag of Whataburgers. No! You hand him the money on the phone, but hold on to your burgers like your life depends on it. That was a close call, but you made it. At least this time. If you had paid attention to YouTube every now and then, you would have known never to have gone to that neighborhood. That part of Texas is bad news, fella. Texas isn't the most dangerous state overall, but it's up there. According to the latest numbers put out by the FBI, it's the 12th most dangerous state of all, when you take into account the number of robberies, assaults, shootings, murders, and other crimes per capita. There's a lot of places in Texas where you could chill out and never be bothered, but in many parts of the state, you gotta watch your back. And apparently, your bag of Whataburgers. Now, in order to determine how dangerous...
He seriously dressed up like this for the video? God.
Dangerous a particular city is, you just need to look at how much crime happens there and what your chances are of being a victim of said crime. Some of the cities we'll talk about are small, but they are packing heat. And some of the bigger cities in Texas are going to be dangerous, that's for sure. I'll tell you that. Now, around here, I'm the sheriff. And when you call the law, you call me. So let's lock them up. We're going to take a look at the most dangerous cities.
What's hilarious is look what he's wearing. It's all brand new clothes, too. You can tell he never wore that before. He bought all that shit just for the video.
Texas, hombre. If you want to be alone in Texas, you can be alone. Everybody here will tell you better hide from all of the dangerous. Aw, Texas, one of our fastest growing states of all.
What
High
is this
crime in
video?
many areas certainly
What
isn't
the
enough
hell
to
is this
deter people
video?
from flocking here in droves. Going back 10 years ago, Texas was 21st in the nation for murders. Today, it's exactly average, ranking 25th for murders per capita. So
Wow.
it's less murderous here these days. Although property crimes and assaults have definitely gone up in this state, especially in places like Amarillo. Crime has certainly
Amarillo.
gotten much worse here over the last few years, I'll tell you that, pal. Amarillo is a medium-sized city way up in the Texas Panhandle. It's the biggest city in this whole region. The population here reached about 200,000 people, but as you can see, it's plateaued. Maybe that's because of the crime. I mean, overall, it's about an average place, sort of poor and rundown, but not too bad. Here in Amarillo, you'd have about a 1 in 138 chance of being the victim of an assault, rape, or murder for each year that you lived here.
Great.
And last year, there were more than 7,800 robberies in Amarillo, which is about 21 a day. Police in Amarillo seem to be frustrated, and you can understand why. I mean, it seems like these losers are never going to stop with the bullshit. There's been...
I was just going to say, like, those statistics aren't bad, except this is small. It's only 200,000 people. That's not big. That's small scale city to have that much crime. All right, I think we're going to go to the next video. These are, I'm going to be honest, these are not very interesting. Let's go to the next one.
Can we just celebrate for a moment that this shot, the shot that you're looking at right now is being shot on a $180 webcam.
Okay.
For $180, this looks amazing. The webcams weren't always like this. Some of you remember. I remember when webcams weren't like this. Those were dark times. Huge thank you to OBSBot for sponsoring this video. In this video, we're going to talk about 6 cameras that you can use for streaming, ranging from $8, I guess actually kind of free dollars, all the way to $600. And I think whatever webcam you're looking for, I think you're going to find in this video. There's no particular order of cameras. I'm not going favorite to least favorite, but I am going to start with the camera that we've been using for this video so far, and that is the brand new, recently released OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite. OBSBot has done something really cool that I'm excited about, and I actually think you're really going to be excited about. They've released these PTZ cameras in the past that we've talked about a handful of times on this channel. These cool ones, you know, that they can like
4K.
follow you and they can move around to presets and whatever you want them to do.
Oh, so that, okay, so for a streamer, you could have that and you could move around your room and it would follow you around your room. So if you, like, my setup doesn't matter, but if the setup was reversed, if the camera was facing that way and I got up and walked around the room, you would follow you around. I could definitely see that having some impact and use for sure.
Usually they're $300. The OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite brings for the first time that gimbal, really cool webcam, motorized webcam for...
Oh, really? OBSBot is the fucking company? Oh shit. They are, huh? All right, let's go to different ones then. Let's not watch the paid ad. Let's watch other ones then. Here we go.
I'm just excited that we finally have these super cool little motorized...
I probably wouldn't get that because I don't care about it following me around the room. That would be one I would skip.
Webcams at a decent, affordable price that almost anyone can justify. But let's move on to camera number 2. Let's move to something a little bit more budget. Do you remember when we all had the Logitech C920? Like, that was the webcam.
That's literally the webcam I'm using right now. The C920? Yeah, that's what I'm using. That's an older version. That's actually the version I had before this one. This one is the one that was the improvement on it, but that's exactly what I'm using.
To buy. It wasn't that it was good, it was that it was cheap. It was $50 at the time and it looked fine, but it was released in 2012 and camera tech has come a long way since then. So what is the modern equivalent of a Logitech C920? And I did a lot of research on this one. It seems like in the last couple of years, Logitech has wanted to reclaim that title of the first webcam that people buy, and they've thrown out quite a handful of really budget webcams. One of them has stood out to me, and it's the Brio 300. You can get this
I definitely don't have that one.
$50 on Amazon, at least as of this morning when I checked. Now, disclosure, this shot is not on the Brio 300 because I don't own one. It's one of the 2 webcams in this video that I don't own. The rest of the shots will be on their own webcam. But the Brio 300 is, in my opinion, the perfect budget-dedicated webcam. It's got fixed focus, which means it doesn't have autofocus, which is a good thing for cheap cameras, because usually cheap cameras don't have good autofocus. This way, as long as you're the proper distance from the camera, you will be crisp. And it's a pretty crisp webcam. It's $10 cheaper than the 12-year-old Logitech C920 that I mentioned earlier.
So it's only 40 bucks?
Significant.
I'm not going to buy a $40 webcam. Sorry. I want better than that. Okay, what about this one?
I'd go with the Brio 300. So we are going to go cheaper than the $50 webcam later in this video. This is the opposite of that. This is the $300 Elgato Facecam Pro. It's the first of 2 premium webcams we're going to talk about in this video, and each one has like their different strengths.
This is full 60 frames, by the way.
So if you're looking for a really fancy webcam, you know which one to pick.
You guys have not seen me in full 60 frames ever. I'm always at 30 frames. My webcams don't do 60. This camera is 60 frames.
The Elgato Facecam Pro has a couple advantages. The first one you probably saw as soon as we switched to it, and that is the super wide field of view, which is really cool. A lot of streamers want this. Maybe you've spent a ton of time on your setup, or you move around a lot and you just needed to see everything. This thing does that. It's also got a fantastic image processor and sensor in it, which is why the colors look so much richer. The dynamic range, meaning the bright spots and the dark spots, you get details in both.
There's more color.
When I did a video,
you could see just on the still shot here, you can see more. You can see more of the color on his face on the shadowed side. And you see, he's right. Like, the colors are popping better with this webcam for sure. Look how orange the cord is coming off of his microphone, right? The colors are very good.
On this webcam, I tricked people in the beginning into thinking it was my DSLR, like my fancy webcam. I even tricked Elgato employees. They told me afterwards. It's just a great looking webcam. It's also the first webcam to do a full 4K 60 directly out of it, which is what you're looking at right now. You may have noticed I look a little bit smoother. A lot of streams on Twitch are 60 frames per second. So now you can get that 60 FPS out of your webcam without sacrificing the 4K like you have to do on most other webcams. This also allows you to do Elgato software to do some really cool stuff, like PTZ functionality. It's not quite the same as the OBSBot in the beginning where the camera physically moves.
Okay, that's good. I mean, it's expensive, but it's pretty good. Not that I would ever do 4K. The most I would do is 1080p, 60 frames, but definitely wouldn't be doing that. There's a Razer. Razer does one.
That's because it is. This is the same webcam. This is the other webcam that I don't own myself. But this webcam consistently looks amazing and does amazing things in every video that I've seen about it. I'm very impressed. It's the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra, which is something I love to see. I've had a handful of disappointing videos in Razer webcams before, and it feels like they finally nailed something that really brings some cool value. It's another $300 webcam, but it does things a little bit differently than the Elgato Facecam Pro, and I think it has a couple of advantages. First thing is that it's got a narrower field of view, so if you're just trying to focus on yourself and nothing else, you're gonna get a much better shot of that. And when you combine a narrower field of view with a larger sensor, something it does that I've never seen any other webcam do is give a natural bokeh, or background blur, essentially. It's the first webcam I've seen to really be able to pull off that natural background blur. It does a pretty good job. And that large sensor, which is the largest sensor on this list, also allows it to capture more light and work by far the best in low light.
I was just going to say, the key to a good camera is the amount of light the lens can pull in. So if it has a better light sensor, it's actually just going to be a better camera by default. So, okay, I would say if I was interested in an upgrade, I'd probably either look at the Elgato or this Razer one. I don't need extreme wide shot, so maybe the Razer one would make more sense for me then.
I think that makes it a really powerful contender that's worth mentioning on here. Those two $300 webcams, they both have their different uses depending on what you need. Let's move on to the next one. This next webcam, if I'm going to be real with you, is the least utilized, but also still the most value, best bang for your buck camera you could possibly use on your stream, and it kind of makes me sad. This webcam you're looking at right now is free. Kind of. It's my phone. I'm using an app called Epoch Cam, and I am using the Pro version, which is, I think, $8, a one-time fee, but there's also a free version that works.
So basically turn your phone into a webcam. I'm definitely not doing that. I would never turn my phone into a webcam. All right, now the Sony.
Which is using a mirrorless camera as a webcam. Doing this has a bunch of advantages. The most obvious one being, as soon as you're done streaming, if you want to go in a different room or a different spot and shoot a video, you can take this off your setup and record something else with. They're also upgradable.
He's using it's just a actual digital camera you can remove and bring around. Now, I wouldn't do that either. All right, so okay. So I would say definitely either the Elgato or the Razer look good for me. For my setup, for improving. We'll see. Okay, we have time to squeeze one more in, maybe? How long is this next one? Let's try.
60 hours playing a game that I don't think is actually very good. Ghost Recon Wildlands was pretty universally seen as a 7 out of 10 back when it came out in 2017 out of 10. The writing is among the worst of any game I have ever played. The voice acting comes across as like a middle schooler's idea of what they think sounds cool and awesome. The American interventionism power fantasy of hunting down a Bolivian drug cartel by blowing up tangos everywhere you go is problematic, to say the least. So why did I play this game so much? Because kids sometimes, at the end of the day, daddy doesn't always want the cautiously prepared 5-star Gordon Ramsay dinner, all right? Sometimes he wants Pizza Hut. It's critically mid-comfort trash. It might not be good for your brain, but spin me right round and call me dead or alive. Extreme beach ball, holy shit. Maybe I do like sports, dad. Chumba, wumba, hubba, hubba. But many of these critically deemed 7 out of 10s are often capable of scratching a specific itch. An itch that those esteemed 10 out of 10 hold forward while your character shimmies through a tight crack games just can't quite scratch. The only thing they scratching is that tight crack on their ass. The best 7 out of 10s might not always fully stick the landing, but hey, at least it's trying out some cool new trick. Don't worry about the haters, brother, I gotcha. 7s walk so that 10s can steal their mechanics later and win a bunch of awards. That's why 6 scares 7, not because they not. Take the Just Cause series made by Avalanche Studios, you know, some real solid 7 out of 10 games. Do people like them because they're polished? Are you blind? Are you here right now? Does he stand up or is he in your chair right now? People love the physics-based sandbox of chaos and explosions and creativity and gliders and scratches chin, ponders. What's in like every game in the past 5 years? Perchance it's gliders, my lord. Wildlands is borderline race car most of the time, so that's pretty rough. But if you ignore all that stuff, it's also a gorgeous, massive sandbox of opportunity that grants you so much freedom in how you want to pursue your objectives, and you can play it with your friends. And surprise, surprise, it's made by the undisputed king of the 7 out of 10 open world game, Ubisoft. Who the fuck you calling soft, brother? You're the soft one. Matter of fact, you be making me soft with that fugly ass ball of yours. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. We often give Ubisoftware a bunch of crap for what they do, and yeah, honestly, we should. They do a lot of dumb shit. Ubisoft Connect can connect its foot to my ass. Wait, scratch that, reverse it. But the sheer amount of solid 7s and 8s that they consistently squat out that then go on to influence much better games is frankly astounding. Is the AI gonna be smart? Am I gonna be smart? I'll give you a hint. The answer is the same. Are the animations gonna be polished? Does a bear shit in a Ubisoft outpost? No. Well, sometimes they do. There are bears in Far Cry. Scratch that. Reverse it. Is your companion gonna ask you to take the vehicle off of sweet jumps even when it's a helicopter? I don't know. Let's ask one of our genius tango operators over here.
This ride ain't all bad.
Shit, give me a beer and I'll pretend we're back home off the coast of Myrtle Beach.
Still think you're 22 or something?
Nah, I'm just looking to hook up with 22-year-olds.
What do you know? Say the line about the fucking jumps, you creep. But now let's compare a Ubisoft open world to a 10 out of 10 open world like GTA 5. Can you tackle objectives however you want? I'll give you a hint. The answer is no. But is it way more detailed and polished and generally functional? Yes. And it's also way more accessible to a mass audience because, like many other prestige 10 out of 10 games, it practically plays itself. And people go, whoa, this is just like a movie. I get to hold forward and lock on to dudes. This definitely isn't just ripping off Michael Mann's Heat 10 out of 10. Obviously, Ubisoft's quality standard is vastly inferior. That's not my point. Most people are gonna enjoy GTA 5 as a product way more, and justifiably so. But I guess my dumbass point is that a critic score does not always tell the full story of exactly what an experience entails and what might appeal to you. And also in Heat, Al Pacino says, great ass! In summary, Nakey Jakey's in defense of the 7 out.
He loves Heat. That's great. All right. So in summary, here's what he's saying. We don't even have to watch the rest of the video. Here's what he's saying, okay? Even though a AAA game could be a polished cinematic experience, sometimes you just want to fuck around. And some of these unpolished, high production value games end up being more fun to play because they didn't care so much about being polished and having insane amount of cinematics and insane amount of, you know, locations and story elements. You just fly around blowing shit up, you know? And I get it. Like, I understand what he's saying. How many of these AAA games have the similar segments, have to have the giant narrative, have to have the professional level actors and things in them? You know what I mean? Sometimes you just want to watch a popcorn movie, a popcorn flick. You don't care how good it looks. You just want a silly adventure, and you want to sit there shoving things in your mouth, drinking unhealthy soda while you watch shit blow up on the screen and you have a good time with it. You know it's schlock. You know you don't care about the story, but you just want to see stuff go boom, and you go, ooh, pretty, right? And that's what he's saying, is you don't need to have a $70 AAA experience every time to have a good game, and I understand. I totally get that. I 100% get that. Okay. All right. Folks, we're almost there. One more part left in DSP versus the internet for this week. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. Next part, what I might actually do to do the final part of the day is pick videos out of these that I want to watch. I think we've been doing this the final part every week for a few weeks. It's worked well. So, all right, guys, I will see you in the final part.